Hello, and welcome to the Times Higher Education webinar on IELTS One Skill Retake, enhancing the student experience through streamlined English language testing, held in partnership with IELTS. My name is Sridhu. I'm the Deputy Editor for Brand Content at THE. I'm pleased to welcome our webinar panelists, Stephen Carey, Global Head of Relationship Management at IELTS at the British Council, and Megan Agnew, Global Partnerships Manager at the British Council. Our expert panelists will walk us through how the IELTS One Skill Retake benefits students and also share more details about the test and its format. We'll also be taking questions from the audience, so please use the Q&A function to post any questions you would like to ask our panelists. This webinar is being recorded, and we will share an on-demand video and a summary article with all the participants shortly after the webinar. So I'll now hand over to Stephen and Megan for their presentation.
Thanks, Ritu. Good afternoon, everyone. It's really wonderful to have so many of you at our webinar today. If we don't get a chance to come to your questions at the end, we will, of course, follow up with you following the webinar. So today we're delighted to talk to you about the features and benefits of IELTS One Skill Retake. The service launched in 2023 and it's now available in over 110 countries around the world. So what is the IELTS One Skill Retake? The service allows test takers to retake one test section in their 4-part English language test within 60 days of the original test date. So test takers can only complete one IELTS One Skill Retake per full IELTS test. The service is available for both IELTS Academic and IELTS General Training tests. It's available only via IELTS test centres on computer, and it's currently recognised by a number of organisations around the world, which includes immigration authorities such as UK Visas and Immigration, Australian Department of Home Affairs, and Immigration New Zealand. In practice, the test format is exactly the same as the original IELTS test, so there are no changes on the format or the timing. IELTS One Skill Retake also has the same marking and scoring procedures as the full IELTS test. And of course, the same underlying validity evidence and checks are in place. This includes material produced to rigorous test construction guidelines, our pre-testing and calibration processes, reliability measures, statistics around the test, internal consistency measures and standard error of measurements, and our research activities around the test as well. So why have the IELTS partners developed IELTS One Skill Retake? After listening to feedback from our test takers and our stakeholders, we wanted to provide more choice and more support to both our test takers and the organisations that use IELTS to demonstrate English language proficiency. Previously, the only way to take a major English language proficiency test was to take the test in one session, sitting one test for each skill, listening, reading, writing and speaking, as with IELTS, or through combined skills, as with some other test providers. With IELTS One Skill Retake, we provide test takers the ability to take one section of their test again, if required, and to update their overall test result. This provides further support for test takers in achieving their global goals and provides an alternative way of retaking a test. So it reduces stress and also reduces cost. but importantly, it has zero compromise to the quality of the world's most recognised and trusted English language proficiency test. As a consequence, One Skill Retake helps our recognising organisations attract the broadest range of high-quality applicants to meet your English language requirements, and therefore supports your recruitment and, of course, your retention targets as well. In terms of our organisations, I mentioned immigration bodies. One Skill Retake is also now accepted by over 1,600 organisations around the world, and that number is growing every day. It includes government authorities, employers, institutions, and professional bodies, as well as the immigration bodies. In the UK, over 330 organisations are signed up, followed by 130 in the US, Australia, 310, and in Canada, over 120. For our test takers, we've really had some positive sentiment around One Skill Retake in how the service is helping them to achieve their goals. I'll now hand over to Stephen, who will explain how One Skill Retake results are delivered and how they appear on the IELTS results service. Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you, Megan. So to the all-important results or scores, depending on how you term them, we know how the integrity of results is so important for you, our organizations that accept the IELTS test. So on the next slide, there's three key things that I really want to emphasize to you. One in the middle perhaps is the one that most people ask us about, and that is that yes, it's a completely separate test report form or test result for One Skill Retake. The test taker gets a new test report form for the One Skill Retake, and the test taker also is in control of whether they decide to send either their original 4 skills test score or their new test report form, the new One Skill Retake test report form, to the organization. So in almost all cases, you will only ever receive one test report form from us, and therefore there is no change to processing on your side. Also unchanged, number one there, the results for IELTS on computer and IELTS online tests are all delivered between 3 to 5 days. And so it is the case also for the IELTS One Skill Retake results. And the third point on the right, the retake is of course clearly labeled on the score report, as you can see on this next slide. So, as it says here on the right, at the top right of the new IELTS One Skill Retake test report form, you can see it says at the top, One Skill Retake. So it's crystal clear what it is that an organization is looking at. And it will say as well what skill has been retaken, in this case, writing. In the middle of the form, you can see another box there highlighted in red, which is the revised score for the writing retake. And then in the third box there highlighted in red, you will recall that all IELTS test report forms have an administrator comments box. This is often blank. However, here on the IELTS One Skill Retake report, you will have a comment that notes that this is a One Skill Retake and that it relates to the original 4 skills test taken on X date with the test report form number of the original 4 skills test that the test taker took, which of course you can look up on our results service if you feel the need to do so. In terms of the results service, on the next slide, we can see how the view will look in our results service. So for those of you who have access to IELTS results service, I hope you all do. And for those of you who verify manually, you verify the test report form number or the score report that is sent to you. You put the report form number in, press the button, and bang, in 99.9% of cases, you will see the image of the same person in front of you in our results service. In this case, again, the result is clearly marked on the left in this case as IELTS One Skill Retake. The second highlighted red box there, you can see that it shows the new score and the new IELTS One Skill Retake score. And again, in the administrator comments box at the bottom, exactly the same information as on the paper test report form. What I just indicated, the details of the original 4 skills test that this is linked to with the test report form number, so that if you wish to, you can then copy paste that and put it back into the system and look up the original 4 skills test report form score of the same person. So it's really pretty easy. Then in terms of electronic delivery, for those of you who have now opted in to our e-delivery service, so there's just one extra job for those of you who are in e-delivery. That is to go to the templates tab in your results service profile. And you, when you either create a new template or you open your existing template, you will see there the fields that are available that you can receive direct from IELTS pre-verified. And the one at the bottom says One Skill Retake scores. So obviously you do need to add that to whichever template you're using in order that the scores will come out for you in all of your results. And then on the next slide, you will see how that appears. So the pre-verified IELTS One Skill Retake score will appear just the same as any other score as an Excel string, a little bit like what you're seeing in front of you here. So the original test score above and the One Skill Retake score below for the same test taker. Any of you, as an aside, any of you who are interested in moving from manual verification to electronic delivery of results, please do not hesitate to contact us after this webinar if you need further information on how to do that. Although I will be briefly explaining that in fact, there's a little video that's going on here that shows how to register to receive and verify IELTS One Skill Retake results. We'll show you shortly where to do that. There's a QR code where you can do that. It's a very simple 5-step process, I would say, where it's simply a matter of, if you're already accepting IELTS scores, going to our site and updating your preferences and adding One Skill Retake as it suggests here. It really takes no more than 3 minutes to do that. But equally, and although that's not the point of this webinar, there is also an option here for changing to electronic results, which you could click as well if your organization wanted to move to electronic delivery. We'll be showing the QR code as to where you go to do that just after this. So to sum up, as Megan was saying earlier, really IELTS One Skill Retake is giving, yes, basically everybody, the test takers, but also the test users, more choice, more support for the test takers at a lower cost, but crucially retaining the same test procedures and the same test quality for which IELTS is renowned. So to recap, test takers can now retake one section of the IELTS test. One skill can be retaken per IELTS test. It must be taken within 60 days of the original 4 skills test date. That is very important because it's important that IELTS is taken at a snapshot at a moment in time, and so that it does not give the test taker the opportunity to improve or change their English language ability over time. And studies which are abundant are abundant globally and also on the IELTS.org site show that on average a test taker takes a minimum of 90 days to increase their English language ability by a minimum of by a maximum rather of a half band score. So for that reason, the time period for the IELTS One Skill Retake has been set at 60 days. The results, as I've mentioned, are clearly indicated on the test report forms and the IELTS results service and in the electronic delivery. But you, the organizations, do need to register and verify these results. It's an option for you to be able to opt into. It's another choice for you, which in our view should help you with meeting your recruitment, retention, employment, and other targets, and is an additional option for you for test takers or students or applicants who may be borderline in their application process. And moving on, we will pass back to Sritu in just one moment for questions, but I had indicated that we had a QR code here, which I think is on the next slide. So just to remind everybody, it's very, very simple. It's pretty much a 5-step process, but you do need to sign up. If you are not currently signed up as recognizing IELTS scores, please do so. If you're not registered for One Skill Retake, you won't get the One Skill Retake scores. You won't be able to verify them, and you won't get them electronically unless you sign up. And the QR code, which takes you to our web form to sign up, is right here.
Thank you, Stephen, and thank you both for the insightful presentation. We have received a number of important questions from the audience, so I will read some out for you. I believe some of it you have already covered, but it would be great if you can reiterate some of the details for our audience. So the first question is, how will applicants' results be evidenced? Will this be a digital recognition or a physical certificate?
I can take that one. Yeah, sure. So I think for information, there was some slides that Stephen shared which demonstrated the results view, both on the physical test report form and on the digital IELTS results service. So at this stage, it really depends on how institutions receive or have selected to receive their scores. So if they're receiving electronic scores through the IELTS results service, it will be clearly marked on the electronic download sheet, so on that Excel document. If an institution is receiving paper test report forms, then One Skill Retake will also be clearly marked on the test report form as well.
Thank you, Megan. And the next question we have is, does UKVI accept One Skill Retake as evidence for their secure English language test?
I'll take that one. So yeah, Sritu, great question. And yes, UKVI have confirmed some time ago, in fact, that they accept IELTS One Skill Retake test scores for all UK immigration pathways. And they have clarified this on the gov.uk site for English language CELT requirements, which has a little paragraph on the main page that people can scroll to that says that if a test provider enables the option of taking one skill, again, that this is accepted for UK visas. So it's all very clear.
Thank you. So the next question is about the test report form number. So will the One Skill Retake test taker receive a new test report form number, or when someone has taken a One Skill Retake, would their original test report form number indicate that there is a more up-to-date result available?
Yep, so the test taker will receive a new test report form number. However, the previous test report form number will be identified in the administrator comments box on the test report form. So if an institution would like to check the previous scores, they can do with that previous test report form number. We did also point out that the test taker can choose which result they send or which result they share to their institutions. So they can share their original score if they prefer, or they can share their One Skill Retake scores as well. So that's from the test taker's perspective.
And again, what will be the turnaround time for results for One Skill Retake? I think you have covered it, but we do have a question.
Sure. So that's we did cover it. It's between 3 to 5 days. Although I think, in fact, we are reducing the time frame for IELTS on Computer and IELTS One Skill Retake results down to 1 day. So between 1 to 5 days going forward.
Mm-hmm. The next question we have is the One Skill Retake available only in the computer-based format or online, or can it also be taken in the paper-based exam?
Yeah, so at this stage, One Skill Retake is only available on IELTS on Computer tests. The access to IELTS on Computer is growing considerably. It grew post-COVID quite rapidly, and it continues to grow. So as we see, there's still lots of test takers that do prefer paper-based testing, but we are seeing that shift predominantly because of the quicker results that IELTS on Computer offers. And with the further reduction in results time for IELTS on Computer that Stephen just mentioned, we are seeing that test takers are looking at IELTS on Computer now as a preferred option. So yes, at this stage, only for IELTS on Computer tests.
Thank you, Megan. We have a question about test results again. Does the original test remain valid if there's a retake?
I can take that one. Yes, absolutely. The original test remains valid. So both are valid. However, the way we have set up our portals for our test takers means that the test taker is given the choice to send their original test report form or their One Skill Retake test report form to organizations. So it's unlikely that you will ever see 2 or more. However, they do have the choice to send one or the other, and therefore both remain valid. And in case somebody asks, and they both remain valid for exactly the same period of time. So the IELTS validity recommendation only has not changed. That's that we recommend that organizations use an IELTS test report form for up to 2 years after the original listening, reading, and writing test date. However, if you choose to accept an IELTS test report form older than that, that is entirely up to you, but you may wish to consider additional forms of proof of English language proficiency if you accept a test report form that is older than that, and you can continue to verify test report forms on the IELTS Results Service for up to 3 years, including IELTS One Skill Retake test report forms.
Following up on that, is there a time limit for one skill retake? Does one skill retake need to be taken within 60 days from the last test taken, or is it available anytime while the original IELTS test score is valid?
Yes, so one skill retake. Yes, one skill retake is available for 60 days post the full IELTS test date, and that is based on academic research. So again, as Stephen adhered to earlier, we've seen that it does take around 90 days for a test taker's score to increase. So based on their English language learning, so that time period has been specifically set at 60 days so that we're allowing for fairness. One skill retake is designed to support test takers to increase fairness where they have failed due to certain environmental reasons, where they have failed to show evidence of their English language proficiency. So it's designed for where environmental factors have come into play, so not feeling very well, or trying to accommodate some other requirements during their tests. So it's not designed to provide support for changes to their or advances, I should say, in their English language learning. It's specifically designed to support them where they have failed on that one skill to show their proficiency. So that's why the days are set at 60.
Thank you. The next question we have is, do we need the original test report form to show the date of the original test, or does the retake test report form show the original date of the test too? Stephen.
Oh, that's an excellent question. Yeah, I haven't had that one before. No, the One Skill Retake test report form shows the date of the original test.
Thank you. And are there any eligibility criteria or a fixed ban for students to be allowed to apply for One Skill Retake?
No, there's not. As long as they have their test within 60 days, then there's no other, and obviously on computer, then there's no other requirements.
Thank you. And how many times can a student take the One Skill Retake exam, and how often can they take One Skill Retake test?
That's also a good question. There's no limit no theoretical limit on the number of times that a test taker can take IELTS in general. However, the IELTS One Skill Retake, they can only take one skill once for every original 4 skills test. Obviously, if they've got 2 original 4 skills tests, then they'll be able to take a One Skill Retake on each one of those once. Hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you. And must the one skill retest be taken at the same test center as the original test, or can they choose a different test center? Megan?
Yeah. So they, I believe they, in theory, can choose a different test centre as long as it is the same test provider, so British Council or IDP. However, generally we do see that the test takers will take at the same test centre just because of convenience. So there's usually sufficient test dates and test availability, and the test taker will select their kind of regular nearest test centre.
We have an interesting one here, which is how can we register to display on IELTS global website as an official one skill retake accepting university?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, it is in fact through this QR code, which is in front of us. It's a pretty quick 5-step process to simply fill out the update your preference form, which will come with this QR code. Fill that out, add in that you want to accept one skill retake, and then your organization will be added to our lists, which display on our web estates, showing that you accept one skill retake.
Thank you. This might be repeating some of the information that you've already covered, but when we check the test report form number on the IELTS verification website, will we know the candidate has taken one skill retake test? If you don't mind going over that again.
Yeah, so the results service will show that the score is a one skill retake. So if an organization is signed up to retrieve those scores, then that will be evidenced both on the on the test report form, but on the IELTS results service, when the test report form number is typed in for verification, that will be indicated, and also on the e-download scores as well.
Thank you. The next question, which is also an interesting one, is what kind of verification process is used in IELTS Online to avoid any fraudulent activity to enhance robustness?
So I think that one's for me, but just clarifying, Srita, the question was about IELTS Online, correct? Not IELTS One Skill Retake.
Yeah, and do you also use similar processes in IELTS One Skill Retake?
So to clarify, IELTS One Skill Retake is not yet available for IELTS Online. So it's only available in a test center, so in an IELTS on Computer test center. We may make IELTS One Skill Retake available online as well at a later date. Currently, we're evaluating the options of that. In terms of IELTS Online, there are very robust security processes around it. The key one, of course, there's so many, but the key one being that all IELTS Online tests are subject to our remote proctoring. That is a remote proctoring service that is built, managed, owned by the IELTS partners, and with the greeters and proctors who are employed by the IELTS partners. So there's no second or third tier agencies involved. And those human greeters and proctors are not only checking the ID and identification of people before the test, but they are also physically monitoring the test from start to finish, and then also able to review the recordings after the test that for any events that have been flagged by our artificial intelligence monitoring. So it's that human monitoring all the way through from before the test till after the test that is so key in the security of IELTS Online. And interestingly, that's what our test takers tell us in research, that they value, not only that they are being monitored by humans, but also that they do have a call bell, if you like, that they can ring in order to get human assistance from a real person during the IELTS Online test. But we are going off topic slightly, because obviously that's for the online test, and IELTS One Skill Retake is different from that.
Thank you for going into detail about that, Stephen. Thank you. The next question we have is, which countries currently have IELTS One Skill Retake option available for candidates? Again, could I come to you on that?
Yeah, there are over 110, so I won't list them, but we are almost at global rollout. I think there's just a couple more countries to go, including the US, but aside from that, pretty much available everywhere. Is the short answer.
Thank you. So before we wrap up, there are a couple of questions that I would like you both to answer, if that's okay. So the first one is, what are the best digital strategies or materials to help students prepare for IELTS and also for One Skill Retake? Stephen, you mentioned that improvement is part of the journey in One Skill Retake. So what are your recommendations?
Well, that's a great one. I think the key thing there is that, IELTS supplies probably more free preparation materials than any other test provider, but in particular within the registration journey, when a test taker registers for an IELTS test, they will be offered the option of pursuing, for example, IELTS Ready Premium, which is a course that enables them to practice for their IELTS test. And then after they've completed their original 4 skills IELTS test, and if they decide that they actually would like to practice some more, they will be offered the option of having more practice, either from that program or from another one, before they do their retake, or indeed another 4 skills test. So it's all built into our platforms as a one-stop shop, whichever test provider you're accessing the IELTS test with.
Thank you. And Megan?
Same question?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think the key thing that we tell our test takers is just to prepare. You get so many who think that they can kind of leave it till the last minute, or and are really looking for quite significant increases in scores, which, of course, it's English language, aside from the familiarity with the test. So as much language preparation as is possible. So, all of the free materials that we have, whether that's reading newspapers, materials online, speaking with friends, with teachers, with as many people as possible. So really just the number one thing is to get into that habit of preparing. So obviously if you're going to university, that's something that you're needing to get into the habit of anyway, into that academic learning environment. So as soon as students can do that as early in the journey as possible, that would be my number one recommendation. Do it and do it early.
Thank you. And then the final question before we wrap up the webinar discussion is, again, I would like you both to answer this, is how can I encourage my students to register for One Skill Retake to improve one of their sub-skills to meet the condition?
Could you say that one again, Sritu?
Of course. How can I encourage my students to register for One Skill Retake to improve one of the sub-skills to meet their conditions?
Okay, I think that's, well, from my perspective, that's an interesting one because, you know, clearly it's up to the test taker, really, you know, if they want to, which route they want to go down. So I can understand from a faculty or a teacher perspective that you might want to encourage them to do an IELTS One Skill Retake. But I think, as Megan said earlier, this is it's the model here is to make IELTS fairer, if you like, so that a test taker who feels that they've just had a bad day and they maybe missed the bus and therefore they messed up their first section, or they were worrying about something at home and they messed up their last section, or something went wrong on the day. It's really for those test takers to feel that they can have a fair crack at doing the one skill again. And if that's the case, well, then they will know that they want to do that. It might be that that isn't the case and they feel that IELTS made a mistake with their test, in which case they can apply for an inquiry on result, or they feel that, as you alluded to, Sritu, that in fact they should study more English first before doing another test, in which case they should opt to either take an English course or to do some further practice materials available to them on their IELTS portal. So, from my perspective, it's very much a personal choice. Let's see what Megan says. She might have an idea as to how to encourage them.
Yeah, I mean, thanks, Sritu. I think it's important for organizations to make it clear on their web pages and in their recruitment which IELTS scores are accepted for which programs, or which whether it's undergrad, postgrad. So really having that clear online on the admissions pages, and then of course to opt in for One Skill Retake acceptance. I think having the continued annual review of IELTS band scores and acceptance criteria is helpful. Certainly when there's any new courses added or changes to a course, that might warrant a review of English language requirement acceptance, whether that's IELTS or other tests. But for One Skill Retake, I think having the registering for accepting One Skill Retake, and then supporting, as Stephen said, with the test takers. So depending on their individual requirements, whether that's encouraging One Skill Retake or whether that's encouraging additional English language learning, there's different needs, and One Skill Retake really is focused on supporting fairness and those environmental factors such as anxiety or issues related to their actual test day. So I think trying to identify what the cause of the requirement is from the individual test taker is important, and we can do that to some extent from the test side. So whether that's at the test centre or with additional practice material support. But it might be that from the organisational or the teaching side, there's additional support that can be provided to test takers from that side as well. So really trying to just triage all of those support services for students and prospective students is key, I think.
And I was going to add to my part, Sri, to something that has come up in the Q&A that perhaps we haven't addressed. Of course, in terms of encouraging them or not, the cost of the test is around 2/3. It depends on the country. It's around 2/3 of the cost of a full 4 skills test. So clearly, if they do want to have another go at improving their score, it is a more accessible way for them to do it, yet at the same time retaining the same quality.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of today's discussion. Thank you both. Thank you, Stephen and Megan, for their presentations and also answering all of these questions in detail. Thank you. Your answers were really helpful. I see a few questions about a recap of what was said and also recording. So we will share the recording of the webinar and also a post-event summary article to all the registered participants in the coming days. Thank you to all our audience members for joining us today and contributing to the discussion. And thank you and goodbye.